Okay, so in this demo, we are going to review integrating DevExpress or any other grid control using components from the migrated app.
Yes.
So I'm starting with the normal Node project that we all know and love. Just make sure that everything is running and ready. Yay. Okay. Great. So far, so good. Now, let's start with some very basic definition.
Just want to double check. Are you showing me a screen? Because I'm not seeing a screen at the moment.
Thank you for sharing. Yes, now you do. I always forget that tiny little part.
Okay, excellent.
Great. Okay, so I'm going to start first of all with the very basics of data binding to external grid. Okay?
Okay.
There are simple things and more complex things, but we need to first of all understand the basic of it. So I'm just going to say demo basic Windows grid. Okay?
Yeah.
The goal here for me is to show you how to understand the bridge, which you can then apply to anything else.
Yeah. That's great.
Great. So I'll go here, and I'm sure there is something that .NET calls a grid, data grid view. So good idea. Let's put one over here. Okay. Now they all have great visual designers. I hate them. Okay. At the end of the day, I like to talk to them via code.
Yeah.
Okay. So now I'm going to do something like override on enter. Oh, there is on first on controller enter all. Great. You see this event?
Yeah.
I can override. If this will happen, whenever the UI controller will enter a row. Okay? It's like the enter row of the UI controller, but on the form, and you can play with it in the form. Okay?
Okay.
It's useful. We'll remember later why, but at this point I want to say here something bool started equals false, and saying if started return, else started equals true, and continue. So this will make it the first time. Okay? So far so good? Good. Now just go ahead and run this. We've got the grid, and we're happy. Great.
Yep.
Now let's understand the grid basics. The basic data binding of grid, the best data binding of grid is to an object called dataset or data table. Okay? So we'll use few .NET controls and objects, and then we'll escalate to how we put Firefly to talk with it. So I'm going to say var t equals new system data table. Okay? And for data table, I'll say columns add code of type int, and columns add name type of string. And then I'll say data grid view, which is the .NET grid, source equals dt.
Yeah.
Okay. If I've done my work correctly, I will get the grid.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Now I can add rows here and work with it. Okay, and if I'll go to the source code and break somewhere on my, just break somewhere here. Okay, and do just a second, figure out a way to see this. Let's add a click handler. Okay, one thing for speed. I hate running menus and everything. You remember? So override on start, new demo basic run. Okay?
Yeah.
So I'm calling it from the equivalent of main program task prefix.
Yeah.
And I've got it here. Great. Next, let's just add a click handler or just a button that we can click so we can use it for debugging purposes. Great. So I've added a few rows. And I click my button. And we can see in the watch window that the data grid view dot data source, okay, is a data table that I can view and see its data.
Yeah. Okay.
As simple as possible. Okay?
Yeah.
Great. Now adding rows to the data table. Also very simple. dt rows add one Noam. dt rows add two Dries.
Yep.
Rows add three Anna. Yay.
Okay. Excellent.
Okay? Great. Now, in general terms, your work with the data grid, your easiest way to operate with the data grid is load data into it, okay, and use it for read only at first, or later query the data that was updated. Okay,
Yeah.
that's the easiest way to operate with it. You can also do more by listening to more events on the data grid itself, but if you want to go for the simplest way, this is the simplest way. Okay,
Yeah.
great. Now, this is the very basics of it. As you can see, I'm using only .NET types, nothing from Firefly, just this extremely clear and simple. Okay? Let's just take one aspect of using Firefly here. Okay, let's say that I'm going to have a static memory, static group env data provider memory database, DB. Okay, so this can be my database. And I'll create my, put it just down over here, public class demo memory table, okay, which is env data entity. Okay, now let's make it just like any other entity that we're used to. Let's just use env, we have it, okay, great. So public number column code 5 and public text column name, make it 15. This is my primary key. Public demo memory table is taking my constructor here. Base, I'm going to send it my table and data provider. It can be the DBs that I've set over here, or it can be the normal DB, data sources, model, data sources. I don't have memory defined here, so I'll use the DBs that I've set now, but just the same.
Sure, no problem.
Okay, put it here. So far, so good?
Yeah.
Great. So now, instead of working with this data table, okay, out, I can say var x equal new demo memory table, x insert x.code 1, x.name Anat. Okay? This makes sense?
Yep.
Forgot the semicolon somewhere. Yes, okay. And repeat this as many times as I want to do whatever I want there. This is building the data table. This is using the grid data source as a as a memory, the equivalent of memory tables that you're used to. And then I can say data grid view. So data source equals, okay, the memory database that I've created, .dataset. Okay.
Okay.
Then I'll take this case table 0 or tables and take the table of the x.entity name. Okay.
Yeah.
So the easiest or a good way to interact with, see, it's working, we've got it, and we're happy with it.
Yes.
Okay. So the easiest way to interact with let's do it differently. If you want to interact with datasets directly, great, have all the fun you want. If you want to use a different method, is use the entity with a dataset data provider or memory database, which is using the same thing underneath, so you can enjoy the Firefly abstractions, okay, and simplicity, and still have the objects that the grid wants to see.
Yeah.
Great. And just to demonstrate, if I update something here, and I'll click my button, we can then say here, but let's see how we demo that. Let's do new env utilities entity browser that will use new demo memory table dot run. Okay, this will show me the content of the memory table as we look at it. Okay, so I can say here blah blah and click my button, and the memory table will reflect that update.
Okay.
So when you need to think of the wiring, if all else fails, you can go down to this level. Create the memory tables that represent the dataset that you want to see, let the users operate on it, click and get it back. Okay? Great.
Sure.
Now, just to show that this can be cool and not just as ugly as it is right now, let's drop this grid and let's go and get I think I know how. Yeah, here it is. Grid control. Okay. DevExpress grid, and I can do the same by saying grid control data source, and now I'll have it with a real cool DevExpress grid.
Wow. Okay.
Okay. So the first example of how to do it with a simple, not interesting Windows grid, but any grid will apply. DevExpress, Telerik, anything you want to use. And I can say.
Okay, so basically that entity.dataset is actually is how you to actually take a Firefly table and actually make it a dataset that you can use in any Windows control or any grid control. In other words, that line there at 47.
That line 47 is how you take any. It's not any Firefly grid, any Firefly table. It's how you take what is a memory table. Okay.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Because it goes to the entity's dataset that it's stored in. It goes to the storage. It talks to the storage itself. There is
that one.
There is the dataset. Okay. Have the entity that interacts with the dataset, and we have the grid that interacts with the dataset. Okay. But all of this is only for entities that are using memory. Okay. We're using the you see this one, memory database. Okay. I'm showing you. I'm starting with the most difficult scenario, and then I'm gonna head back. Okay, but I want to make sure have the zeros and ones aligned. Okay, and then we're gonna simplify it.
Sure, no problem.
Great. So this is all fun and nice, and we can all create a memory table and use it, and it all makes sense, and we're very happy with it. Obviously, nice when you have 2 fields, less nice when you have 200 fields. Okay, or less nice when you need to do date conversions and other stuff. So for that, let me just clear out the code that we've written over here so far. Let's say that I really wanted to use it when an actual table, this would start being a pain very, very quickly. Okay? So for that, we second, and you probably want me to save this, right?
Yeah, that would be fantastic if you can.
Yeah, so let's do another one. Let me create a new UI controller and call it DataTableBuilder. Okay? So here is our DataTableBuilder demo.
Yeah.
And we're going to drop on it grid control from DevExpress. We're happy with it. And we're going to same override on controller enter row and do the same bool first or bool started if started return started equals true. Okay, just like before, and we have the grid and everything. Now there's a player in town called new env utilities data table builder. Okay. DataTableBuilder was designed to do this work for us, to convert Firefly types to normal, to other .NET types, to convert dates to date times and into decimals and do all of those stuff. Okay, so let's show the orders table. Okay, I can tell the data table builder to add columns from all the columns from order tables. I can choose, O dot order ID, O dot a few specifics, O dot ID, O dot order date, and O dot ship via. Okay, and then I create a business process from O for each row, DTB add row. Okay?
Yes.
Great. And now I can say create control 1 dot create control 1 dot data source equals DTB dot result.
Okay.
Cool. And I need to run the right program.
Okay.
I think this is what you had in mind.
That's what I had in mind, yes.
Okay. Now you can complicate it or simplify it as much as you want, because this is a normal business process that you are completely in control of. So you can say, you can go ahead and put the customers table here and do BP relations add to customers where customer ID is equal to O customer ID.
Yeah.
And now instead of showing the customer code, show C company name. Okay?
Okay. Yeah. Oh, great.
Yeah. And let's say you want to add an expression, you can also do that. Add column. You can start adding column, you can go through the add column overload and it becomes more complicated as you do. The first one is just add a column, makes sense. You can add a column and give it a caption. You can put a control, which is not relevant for this discussion. You can also put a string, caption, and a function. Okay?
Okay.
And then there's the most complex ones that just control types and get value and everything. So what is for functions? For example, I may want to do add column, day of week, and say O dot O dot order date. Sorry, this will be a lambda expression. U dot end day of week of U dot day of week of order date. Just to align this with normal samples. Okay?
Yeah. Oh, fantastic. Okay. Yeah, that's wonderful.
Okay. So this is. Go ahead.
Just a question. So I can also do a insert here. So I can write to a table. So for instance, I want to populate a table where people tick 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 and say select the following entries. I write that to a memory table and can use that.
Yeah. So to do what you two things. This table by definition will, from what I understand your need, this table will start with all of your rows in it, and you want to check the rows that are going to be later inserted. Is that correct?
Yes. Well, basically, I'm going to select rows from this table. I want to pre-populate some of them as being ticked, and give the user the ability to tick additional rows or remove some of the ticks, and then when I come out of that screen, use those ticks and actually flag those records as change the status of those rows.
So what I would do then, I will use the DataTableBuilder to populate this data. Okay. Later I will read it using. I'll just go to the data table and read the columns that I care about. Okay. In this case, I can say, let's say that I have another column let's just play. I'm just playing. I didn't prepare for this.
Yeah.
BC equals new bool column. Okay, and I'm gonna make here. I'm gonna say BP add all columns. And I'm gonna say let's say BC bind of BC. Sorry, BP columns add BC, which is my bool column, and tell it to bind value. Let's say it's gonna be ticked in case the day of week of the order date is Monday, just as a game, and say call it include. Let's see how that looks, and I just need to also add it to the DataTableBuilder. DTP add column BC. Okay, let's rename BC for a better name. Include checkbox. Okay. Yeah, some reason it takes double click. I don't know why, but that's their definition. Okay?
Yeah.
If you run into a problem with double clicking this, let us know. I'll have one of my guys look at it. But this is it. Okay?
Yeah.
And now I can go ahead and query that information just by going to the data table and read the rows with the values. Okay?
Yeah.
I would use normal data table to read that. And let's just use it for a second. I'll go ahead and put a button on the screen. Okay, let's keep some of this a bit of a level up. Okay, and let's make all of those for second member so I can keep them in the second method. Okay, I'm just taking them out of the method scope and putting them at the class scope so I can access them here.
Yeah.
Okay, and include checkbox. Great. And now I just I have the DTP result. And okay, what I'm trying to do, I'm trying to get the ones that are with include equals true or whatever. I can just say, hey, for each in DTB result rows, okay, if item, so this one is system data row, if row with the column include name, okay? If it's true, give me just string s. If s.length is greater than 0, s plus equals comma, and then s plus equals row dot order ID dot name, and the end of the mbox s. Okay, just as a thought of how to do it. Not necessarily the best one, but a good enough one. Now just check a few more. Yeah.
Fantastic. That's basically what I want to do, yeah. Because the only other thing I want to do is, for instance, but okay, that's that's just a function of the grid. I want to put a company name at the top, and that we have subtotals or breaks per company that they can collapse and expand like that. Yeah, that's exactly.
Yeah. So that's something you just need to play with DevExpress Grid. There are settings there for every columns and whatever. What I would usually do in this case, I would create a screen, play with it, see what it serialized behind the scene in the designer, and then take it back here.
Yeah, yeah. No, absolutely. My biggest problem, I didn't understand how to get from the Firefly tables to how to hook this into grids, or for that matter, how to actually hook it into other controls that's just pure .NET controls. But this is the tools that you gave me to actually do all of that.
Yeah. So that really is the best understanding here. If you want to go, the easiest way is to go to standard objects that everybody knows and support, which is data table. It's a strong, robust object that can handle 99% of your cases. Okay, so
yeah, and what's nice about it is I can actually get the rest of the .NET team to actually then, once we have the stuff in an object that they understand, because some of them is not experienced with Firefly, they can actually build the rest of the functionality.
Yeah, exactly like that. So far, so good?
Yeah. Yep.
Want to see how this can become even cooler?
Absolutely.
Okay. Great. So far, we built everything here, and great. What I want to do next with you, and I'm not that polished on it, so you'll have to forgive me, but it
Yeah, sure. No,
show you an idea. We've been using a lot of pivot grids, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And you know my pivot demo. You remember my pivot demo?
Yeah, you showed it to us when we did that initial training. Yeah.
Yeah. So you can put a pivot. Let me just show it again for a second, so we know what I'm referring to. We have a project called DevExpress Integration. Okay, I'll source code if you want. That DevExpress Integration has a very cool presentation demo, and I can just say DevExpress Integration, pivot, enable. Okay, and now if I have the facelift active, any grid in the application can be just easily be pivoted. Okay, so I can put now city, company name, and have my fun with it.
Wow, that's very cool.
Yeah, so that's very cool for demos. I'm not sure how practical it is for every grid, but still.
No, not for every grid, but I can see where because one of the things we're trying to do, and we're doing it on the internal app because we want to understand what the capabilities of this is to actually take it to the next level at clients.
Mm-hmm.
So we're using that invoicing app as sort of a test bed as well. It's not only functional. It's actually also my sandbox.
So very well. So let me show you how we can do something okay, just a second. Let me show you how can we take this to be even more useful. Okay?
Yeah.
So just to show the first step, you don't really have to have the facelift. You can also just say enable enhanced grid features, and then it will be like this and pivot on every grid. So this is a general demo, but let's see how we apply it to a specific case. Okay?
Yeah.
And my end game here, okay, just so we're clear on the end game. The end game here is you're going to have a list like this, and you'll be able to show any data that you want. But at the end of the day, when you double-click any entry, okay, you will get the filter that tells you on which row is it parking, so you can now move to the screens to do drill down to application screens.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I'm going for. I'm not polished on this, so it may take some trial and errors, but let's see how we do that. Let's just say add new item, simple class, demo, super, pivot. Okay. Public, static, void, demo. So far, so good?
Yep.
Just a message box, and demo external, super pivot, demo. Hopefully I'll get a message box. Yes.
Yes.
Great. Now, from the top. Let's start from the top. DataTableBuilder. Okay, let's make it simple. Okay. var pivot equals new DevExpress integration pivot grid. Okay. Now the pivot grid has a flag saying show chart or don't show chart. Okay. This starts with creating a screen that does pretty much everything I want it to do. Okay. So if I go at the end of the day pivot.run and give it a data table, okay, to show me the screen partitioned like this. And if I send false to the chart, you can pretty much guess that it's only going to give me a pivot.
Yeah.
Great. So far, so good. Now, let's again do DTTB dot add columns O dot columns. Okay, and var BP equals new business process. Business process from O B P for each row, DTB add row, just like before.
Yeah.
Okay. Now we have it all here. Okay.
Yeah.
Now we can play with it some more, and we can tell it. There's some settings here. You can set a straight date to year, month, day. Okay. That means that when it's set to true, every date field will be split to year, month, day. Okay.
Oh, fantastic.
So now I can put customer ID by year and get this nice little information, and put the year over here,
Yeah.
and put the month over there, and have a nice little chart like this.
Yes.
Okay, without having to spend much work on it. So far, so good?
Yeah.
Great. Great. So now it was okay. Now I need to see how I take this further. The further part of it is, let's say, instead of DataTableBuilder, I'm going to use a new friend, which is called DataTableBuilder Filter Helper, which is a new toy of type models orders. Once it is specific for orders, okay, and I need to give him my orders table. Okay.
Okay.
Yes, it doesn't have a columns. Okay. And just to review what's going on here again. Great. And now I can add columns to it. Adding all columns doesn't really make sense. So I can say, DTB add column O. Just a second. I want to make sure that I'm on top of it. Yeah. O or X dot order ID. Okay, it's a bit of a different syntax of adding the column. Okay, but still makes sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so I can now add a few columns. Again, customer ID, and pretty much everything I want. Order date, ship via. Okay, now I'm going to take the pivot grid to the top, and I've made it so I can say, you see that it returns to me a data column. The return type is a data column.
Yeah.
Great. So I can say pivot dot data column. Okay, let's put it here. Pivot. You can hear me? Dries, I got a ping of someone joining or leaving. So are you on the call?
Yes, I am.
Okay, very well. So data column equals customer ID, and then I can say pivot dot row column equals ship via. Okay,
Yeah.
and this will design my pivot as I have requested, if I find this correctly. Let's leave the order date for a second. Okay, ship via and
Okay.
ID in between. Okay. So far so good?
Yeah.
Great. Now, obviously, as you can see, this requires a bit more playing with to make sure that we own this and know exactly what we want from it, because there are some more plannings and playings that can be done to it, and I'll send you some code samples.
Okay.
But my current goal is to respond to the double clicks that I get over here.
Yeah.
Okay. And let me just make sure that I know how I want to do that. Yes. Okay. So the pivot has an event, user selected value. Okay. which gets this friend from us. Let's do it X like this. So far, so good?
Yep.
Great. Now we need to build that filter. Okay? This friend, if I call it, okay, it will send me the filter that the user, it will send me the filter that the user selected. Okay? It will send me something like, it needs to receive a lambda expression that has column, comma value.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
Let's put a breakpoint here and see what we get. If I double click here, it would tell me filtering on column sheep via, and the value is
it's 1. Yeah. Okay.
And I can put here a much more complex filter. I can also say things like, hey, show me 1 and 3 and put it outside. And when I double click it, it will tell me the column values are 1 and 3. Okay? So the event here will let you know the exact filter that is required for the cell that the user has double clicked. Even if it's very, very complex, even if it has a lot of depth, it will give you that information. Okay? So far, so good?
Yep.
Great. Now we can use the data table. We can use the data table builder to translate that into a normal filter. Okay, we can say data table builder. Okay, add filter, and then he needs to get from us an entity, a filter collection, a column, and values. Okay. Now, look at the scenario. Let's say that I want to have a batch process that will run on all the items that the user has selected and tell me something. Okay?
Yeah.
So I'll do var bp2 equals new business process, and it's probably going to be in a different place. So I'm going to have var orders, new models orders. Okay? And bp2 from orders, and let's say bp2.run and mbox bp2.counter, just to make this simple.
Yeah.
So what I've done so far, it will always give me the number of all orders, not the numbers of the ones we've selected. Correct?
Correct.
Great.
Yep.
So this should all give me 830. Now to apply to them, we will use the data table builder to build the filter. We say data table builder, add filter to using these orders, the ones defined over here, to the filter of data table 2, to the where of data table 2. So to the where of business process 2. Okay? Use the column and the value. So we're taking this column to here, this value to here, orders here, and BP2 where here.
Okay.
So now I have a batch task that runs on the rows that the user has selected here.
Wow. Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
Great. Now I can do this for anything. I can apply to anything that I want. So it will apply to any screen that I want, to any whatever I want. Okay? I can, for the same sake, saying that I want to show UI controller with these orders. Okay, and only shows the orders that the user has selected. I can say here var eb equal new env utilities entity browser of orders. Okay? And then I don't need this one over here, and I'll tell him to add it to the entity browser well.
Okay.
And I will
yeah, the BP2 probably needs to come out. Yeah.
entity browser there, and this here. And if I've done my job right, I will only see these rows in my table.
That's quite clever.
I try. So far, so good?
Yeah.
So let's take it further. Just a wee bit further. Okay?
Yeah.
Let's say that I want my migrated order screen only to show the orders that I've selected there.
Yeah.
Okay? Although for some reason nobody put should be on the screen, but it will still make the right demo. So what I need to do then, I need to send this piece of logic, okay, somehow to the screens that I want to run, to the order. Okay? So I'll go to the show orders migrated program.
Okay.
Okay? And what I want to do here, I want to have a place where I can add a filter to it, okay, before it runs. Make sense?
Yeah.
So I want her to call someone to add filter to it. Now I'm going to write something that may look a bit new to you.
Okay.
Action, sorry, system, action. Trust me here for a second. Model orders and filter collection. Oh, Firefly. Filter, box, filter, data, advanced. Remember, I always forget where I put my types. Filter collection, great. Extra filter. So this is a method that can be set from the outside. It's a syntax of writing code when I can say you can put in extra filter a method that accepts orders and filter collection, and I will call it. Okay. So just like I can also do it as an event. Both will apply. So I can say now if extra filter is different than null, then extra filter with my orders and my where. Okay?
Yeah.
Before I run the program, it will, if I set this property, it will run it. Okay? Great. And back to my demo super pivot. So now I can say here, let's just comment all of this out. So we'll have it as a sample for later, but relevant for us now. Var show orders equals new show orders. That's the migrated program. Show orders extra filter equals, okay, O psic where O comma where. And I'll take this line from here and run it there. So the DataTableBuilder will give you the extra filter, just the other way around. But sorry, let me clarify again. Let me comment this out. Okay?
Yeah.
And do it like this now. So far so good?
Yeah.
Should I have enough screen space to do it? Okay, so show orders extra filter. Okay? An extra filter will call X like it's called over here. Okay? And over here we say DTB add filter with the orders that we received from here, with the where we received from here. So that's the orders of the show order screen, the where of the show order screen, the column, and the value from here. And I've done this too quickly. Yes, there's something called already orders, so let's call it ORD, just for the sake of it. And hopefully that will be enough. So far so good?
Yeah.
Great. So now, when my users will double click something, and if I can remember to click the run at the end of it, I forgot to run it. I always forget that little data. Okay, so if I click it, I'll only see the orders that are in this crossroad of information.
Okay.
Okay?
Look, that's quite powerful, yeah.
Now I can take this and make this more interesting by saying, let's add some more columns. Pivot dot, DTB add column X ship country, ship city, and whatever we want over there. and this starts becoming a cool tool. Okay? Yes, don't try to insert something that you can't. Now I'm seeing only 3 orders that are here, or the 5 that are here.
Yes.
Okay, so this is the Uber pivot.
Yeah, this is phenomenal.
Yeah. Okay, so I think that's about enough for one morning.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for your time.
Do you have any questions? Do you have any clarification you'd like? Or is that okay?
Well, at the moment I'm stretching my brain, so I have a lot of questions, but send me the code over and I'll have a look at it. But I understand the concept. The main thing was figuring out how to take the Firefly entity and actually put it in as a data set. So that I understand. I'm still struggling with that helper, but I'll go through the code and just see what it does. And I'm pretty sure I'll pop a few questions if you don't mind.
Okay, no, not a problem. Please note also that all of these classes are in ENV, and they were designed to be in ENV for simplicity. So if you go for the class DataTableBuilder, okay, you'll see that the entire DataTableBuilder is less than 300 lines of code.
Sure.
Okay, so it just takes care of converting data types more than anything else. You know.
Yeah.
You'll follow. You'll get. I promise you. Okay.
Thanks, Noam. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you, Dries. I will send this to you and have fun.
Yeah. Thanks very much. Have a nice day.